Thank you very much, fellow Africans, and welcome to today's episode of the Change for African campaign. So, fellow Africans, being on Wednesday, it's all about our third pillar of the Change for African campaign, where we focus on the African resources. Remember, this is our last week of the daily episodes of the Change for African campaign, and this is our episode number 98. So, fellow Africans, as we summarize all the daily episodes, all the episodes of the Change for African campaign this week, it's when we'll be finishing this. So today it's about resources, and so the African resources, as we had agreed before, that our last week we'll be using the partnership of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to help us summarize or to help us wind up the daily episodes of the Change for African campaign. So speaking about the African resources, we know what African resources calls for Africa. Africa holds, a very huge percentages and portions of the global resources. So we have so many resources in Africa, and not only speaking about the natural resources, the likes of minerals and all things that are mined. We also speak about the human resource. Africa, in some times from now, very few years from now, Africa will be a continent that has the largest workforce, the youngest workforce in the world. So meaning this is also a human resource that we have. These are things that we cherish so much. And now combining the two, it is when now once we have the human resource being put in comparison now, or now the being equated to now the natural resources or the minerals and all the things we hold as Africa, in terms of things that are valuable, resources are things that are valuable, minerals, the human resource, these are valuable things. So once we are able to amalgamate the two, then we are going to have a prosperous Africa, because once the human resource understands that we are a very potential human resource, we are very potential workforce, then now they dive in matters to do how are we going to be able to make sure that we are utilizing the immense resources that we have as an African continent, because Africa has immense resources. So it is incumbent upon this young, this huge workforce, this young African population, to make sure now how do they amalgamate themselves with these resources, with these mineral resources, with these natural resources, so that we can have a different Africa, because we have resources. Once we realize we have the resources, all the resources these are raw materials for our industries. These are raw materials for so many things to be able to. Now, how do we ourselves come up with these are all about industry and innovation and technology? So how are we going to put this together? Because these resources, once we know the importance and the use of these resources, we are going to embrace the use of technology in terms of putting up modern industries. We're going to embrace, the goodness of innovation, all this in terms of having a modernized Africa, a contemporary Africa, whereby everything is technologically run, and we have a great Africa. And people to be able to implement or to be able to create this immense technology in Africa are the young bloods of Africa. This is now the human resource. Now we are calling about, this is now when you speak this is all about the partnership now, because that partnership is what we are asking, that let now people unite. Let now people have the partnership for the sake of value addition to our mineral, instead of having just a mineral being exploited to and taken to other continents. But the partnership should be of mutual benefit, and with huge benefits actually to Africa, with huge percentage of benefit coming to Africa, because the partnership, with no partnership, we are not going to develop, because that is what has been lacking in many of the African countries for so long. So it is time for Africans to partner in terms of how are they going to see that the immense minerals in Africa, the diverse minerals in Africa, how are we going to utilize these minerals to be able to be of good and be of positive impacts to our continent and the African people, because Africa still, many African populations still live in very destitute conditions. So it is time for us to see what are we doing in Africa, so that we are having a different Africa, that we are potentially rich, but then what is on the ground now, it does not define really Africa, because it is very destitute conditions. So we need to see where can we stretch, because yes, we can say we have stretched, but we can do more than what we have done. But there's still a very long way to go in terms of the partnership. Let the African people partner with the good intention that we are going to utilize one thing. We're going to utilize the minerals. So the workforce, the human workforce comes together, and then the thing on how we are going to now utilize the resources, these minerals that we have as Africa, so that we can have a changed Africa. It's all about the partnership for mutual benefit for Africans and for the African continent. So fellow Africans, allow me to end at that point. Let's meet tomorrow on Thursday as we focus on matters to the living standards of our African people. How can we partner to raise the living standards of our African people? Thank you and have some great time. Let's meet then.